Good morning. I have a couple messages about lion spirit because from the Lion Animal Oracle deck that came out in a reading, not necessarily very recently, it was a little while ago. By that I mean like maybe 4 videos ago. It's about doing things from a place of love and not a place of greed. And somebody doesn't have to be an overtly greedy person to act from a place of greed instead of love, because greed is about fear and lack. So just as with anything, there are extreme expressions and then there are micro and minute expressions of things. And in the Strength card, it's a woman sitting with a lion. It's sort of like the feminine nature tempering the ego, particularly like the masculine ego, or the parts of ourselves or the parts of society that are doing things for this like material greed sense. And yesterday in my video that was like totally rambly, I shared a lot more about myself and my past and what I'm doing and how I'm feeling in a roundabout way to get the message out. But I was talking about things that I've been through, chapters in my life where I was I walked with less integrity because I didn't know as much as I know now. Of course, I'm still working on things now, and sometimes I make mistakes, as everybody does, but then, you know, I'm a lot more willing and open to admit that, take accountability, and try to do better going forward, because that's all anybody can ever do. And so I know it's safe to do things in my life and like try, you know, put myself out there, because those mistakes are going to be the things that help me continue to grow and expand. And I feel like it has to do with giving and taking. So this has to do with 5 of Pentacles and 6 of Pentacles energy. And I did a little card reading this morning, and I think I will add it to the second part of this video. I wasn't sure if I was going to post it. It was more or less for me to ground myself because I was so scatterbrained yesterday, but I slept better, so my head is clearer. And 6 of Pentacles came out again. Sometimes when we don't feel like we have a lot, we're not inclined to give, but giving is how you activate the flow of abundance. It's how you get things back in return. Not that you're giving in order to get. It's giving from that place of, detached from expectation, because you know that that's part of what we're meant to do as people. So when I was younger, I was really focused on myself and how I wanted to feel and feeling good. And so I wanted to take things from people around me, a sense of entitlement, and I can still want to feel good, but it is equally, if not, you know, of course you have to put your own oxygen mask on before helping others. So I take care of myself and I make sure that I feel good, but it's equally as important to me that other people feel good too. So it's like, in order to give, it's 6 of Pentacles is a material card, but it could be giving time, giving service. Like, do you need anything? How can I help? Do you need me to listen? Are you looking for advice? Do you just want to vent? Or, you know, can I help you carry that? A few weeks ago, I was at the gas station and there was an elderly man, and his hands were shaking so much that he couldn't put his card into the gas pump to pump his gas. And I asked him if he needed any help, and he said no, but I wanted to be able to offer. Or even giving people affirmation. Positive feedback does so much more than people think. Like, you know, you look great today, or giving gratitude. When you thank somebody, you're giving something to them, even if they gave something to you. All of these things are energy exchange. And what I talked about this morning in the message that I'll queue up, like I just said, to the video so that it can be watched right after this message, is that there's almost like this sluggishness, of this stuckness, of this contemplation and this desire to change things in life. If you're uncomfortable in whatever aspect of your life, whatever situation, could be large scale, big parts of life, or small things that are, you know, holding you back or causing you to feel stuck within your own life. If you want to change it, you have to look at it. You have to make eye contact with the discomfort. But if you do that too much, it could lead to illusion. The mind and the ego will start to carry away your consciousness from the truth, because a certain level of rumination is unhealthy and unproductive, because then you drop out of the ability to let the universe show you more in time, the notion of divine timing, and allowing things to unfold within the mystery of being divinely partnered and led. Having a sense of blind faith can be especially hard if your life has let you down, or if you've been shown, detours, and if you have an optimistic sense of things and things go wrong, you feel let down. There's a saying that is, rejection is protection. That's never not been true for me. It doesn't mean that certain things aren't for you. Sometimes it's not right now. And what I said the other day is that if you try something and it doesn't seem to work out, it doesn't mean that it's not for you. It means that it requires a little bit more of your own personal growth in order to get there, a different angle, a different approach. And then, of course, if something's not resonant with you, but you keep trying, you'll be shown that in other ways. You do have to be discerning about what's not meant to be in your life and your own motives of why you want what you want. But the lion energy is what I was thinking about, because the lion energy on the strength card, it takes a lot of strength to remember why we show up in our lives each and every day in a conscious way. People who are on autopilot in their lives and they don't exist within a spiritual self, and they are really trapped in the illusions of the 3D world and all of the programming and values that instills to kind of keep people working towards these fictional rewards, and then life kind of passes them by. There's a survival mode within that, and survival mode is like unhealed root chakra. So it's about safety, stability, security, abundance, always trying to cultivate that, never having it in full. I know a lot of people who work really hard their whole lives, they still get, fulfillment from their family and their connections and their friends. And that's good. It's not really ever going to be black and white, like you're doing life wrong. That's not possible. It's just all about how you want to use the experience of being a person on earth to expand yourself. A lot of people try to avoid soul development. That's what life is for on earth, is soul development. And scaling back to see the circumstances of your life as hand selected by you in a council of wise beings, because it was like, wouldn't that be interesting? And then you'd have to do that, and then you'd meet that person. Wouldn't that be crazy? How open are you to the curriculum of your own, path? Sometimes we're not. And that's when different kinds of cycles will ensue. But the biggest takeaway that I got from pulling cards, which I will say, even though the card reading's going to be here in a second, is that there's like a really nice place of quiet that we can come into in order to let the rumination be just enough. If the needle tips ever into a little bit of anxiety, you can be like, enough, I let this go. Like a cloud floating through the sky. Maybe you did kind of hop onto the cloud. The second it starts to tinge a little gray and get a little cloudy and start to storm, that mental chaos, it can rain down on you, and you can hop off the cloud and go back to the place of neutrality before it gets to that point. And there's a sense of practice within that. That's not easy to do. The mind, the ego, the human nature, it's kind of untamable. I'm seeing like lion spirit again, lion cub versus adult lion. If you've ever watched nature videos about lions, how they interact with their cubs, there's this like need to take the wisdom of the strength, of the discipline, of the responsibility that comes with power and awareness, and give that to yourself over and over and over again. And it's not in an exhausting way. It's quite the opposite. It's to make sure you don't get exhausted, because that's when we shut down with these different things of balancing energy, managing emotion, and understanding ourselves and why certain things are happening in our lives and our minds. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I do believe there was one more thing I wanted to add. Ladybug? I don't know about that. Luck? Oh, okay. So yesterday in the reading, last night, I was talking about the universe wanting us to help. It wants us to get unstuck. And in the card reading, I talked about that ride, the water park ride, where we kind of hit this plateau. Now there's this need to like keep the movement going. Doesn't mean that we're not going to be carried through, but it means that there was this kind of Cancer and Mercury, trine Neptune, these things. Mars moved into Virgo. There's this almost like a little station along the water park ride where like the little log would pull over and you could like fill up your little knapsack with like water bottles, maybe some Advil, whatever you need to be able to keep going, and then you're going to continue on your journey. So this is kind of like the rest and restock and rejuvenate. But when somebody is like packing for another part of a voyage, they're not applying energy towards the voyage. It's more of like the preparatory phase for that. So within the releasing and the shedding of old things and the moving into new chapters that we're embarking on and kind of just like stuck within, I don't like the word stuck because it's self-fulfilling in its nature, but it's a collective period, collecting the things within yourself. I'm seeing Ten of Wands too. The things that you want to take forward into the journey, because not everything we've done is wrong. Not everything we've done is bad. In fact, most of the things that we've tried to do and express and share within ourselves, within our lives, are of our true nature. But they can be misconstrued or misexpressed or thwarted by our own conditioning. And I mentioned that yesterday in my video. I was talking about having the same mission, the same like guiding light inside my heart that I've had since I was very young, about why I came to earth, you know, in the life and the body and the way that I am now. I have this thing that guides me forward. And when I was younger and when I wasn't walking with as much integrity, when I wasn't as mindful of how I impacted the people around me because I was further focused on how I wanted to feel, I kind of expected that things were good if I felt really good. And that's not the case. You have to be able to walk in a way where if you feel good, it's not going to cancel any, you know, of the goodness, of the feelings, of the potential of the people around you. It should elevate people. It should elevate people. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means I was younger and I was learning, and I still am. And I still am, you know. I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but goes back to the idea of like an earth school. A lot of the things that we've done and a lot of the things that we've tried that we let kind of become dormant in ourselves as we evolve and as we kind of subscribe and submit, because the masses do, to the way of the world. And it's very heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking. It takes like a courageous person to stay in an enamored childlike state of wonder. And I've said this before, it's like you don't get looked upon so kindly. People think that I'm incredibly naive, and I do have a naiveness about me when it comes to certain things, but I also have a certain wisdom from the life experience that I have, and I've talked about, and also past lives. I've talked about feeling, or I did talk about yesterday, feeling underestimated and what that can do to you, because it can instill self-doubt unless you know your own truth intimately and confidently, not in a way of like, well, you're wrong about me. You don't have anything to prove within that, because it's not for the other person, it's for you. If you have no indignation around it, if you're talking to yourself about, if you're reminding yourself of who you are, and I got that message yesterday, like remember who you are from Lion King, again with the lion. If the person walks away and you don't have it, and they're not there to even hear what you have to say, if they triggered you, if you felt like they didn't treat you fairly as you're meant to be treated because of who you are, you know, if they walked away, you wouldn't say it in the same tone because there's nobody there to hear it. That's what it kind of is. Like, so for your own benefit, for your own mind, for your own learning, how do you remind yourself of who you are? And it's going to be, you know, the version of yourself that feels good. You treat yourself well. You don't have to sacrifice yourself in order to be in alignment with others. You don't have to sacrifice your own health, well-being, mental state, your own priorities and passions in life in order to amplify the people around you. A lot of people do that too. They put themselves to the side so that they can care for others. And it works, right? Maybe you get it done. Maybe you care for the others. But the amount that you'll be able to give if you first give to yourself is tenfold. The amount that you'll be able to give and care for the people that you love is magnified when you can give to yourself. And again, it goes back to like this difference between giving to yourself because that's all that matters to you, or giving to yourself because you know that it's an investment in how you'll be able to give to the world. Okay? Okay. That feels a lot more clear than my reading from last night, but honestly, I'm not trying to judge my own process. I want things to come through, and I want the different seasons of my own brain, which flutter around at a pretty rapid rate, to be, transparently witnessed through this channel, like pun intended, a YouTube channel, because this is to help me learn too, as far as what I'm trying to do and make with my ability to share and process things. The last thing I'll add is that when I was younger, I didn't have all of the words that I have to talk about things now, or maybe I did, but I didn't have the right, synthesis. My artwork wasn't as developed. There were things that weren't as ready to be translated now. So it was, and I always talk about how I feel like this spiritual world and language, it's all like totally oversaturated, and it makes it meaningless for people because they're like, oh, I'm not into that. Past lives, I don't believe in that. It creates these dead ends, and now I feel like I can straddle different worlds and more easily kind of bring what I'm trying to talk about into a more palatable context. And my commitment to doing that kind of helps me understand that it's an important thing to do. So even if I'm not on my game 110% and I record a video where I'm like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, which is probably all of them. I probably say that a lot. It's going to be okay to keep the record. I'm reminding myself of this. Keep the record of the progress, because that's how I'm going to be able to look back and be like, I have accomplished something. I am working towards something. I would like to just be open and sharing about that. So okay, now I'll post the reading. So it's morning time and I'm better rested so that I don't appear and seem so ADHD, which is good. But I got a vision or a little download about the whole thing that I was talking about with the water ride, where you're coming down and then we hit this plateau. We're at this point now. The energy of today is like that momentum starting to run out a little bit, and we're having to like start to put a little bit of effort in. You're still in a log on a lazy river or, a amusement park ride. So there is some stuff that you can't control about the direction that you're going and the speed, but I'm just seeing this like sensation of being aware of, almost like if you do think about those rides, when you get to the bottom and it goes like, you kind of like coast for a minute and then there's like almost like this pullback. That's the energy of today. So this is going to be a quick one. This is going to be a quick one. I never tap into the energy like this with the cards in the morning. Never. I'm not a morning person. Let's see. 3 cards, that's it. It's a simple, quick card read. 1, 4 of Cups. It's exactly what I got last night. 2, 3, 2, 3. Four of Cups, and what else? The Knight of Pentacles. Okay. So already with moving forward and continuing to heal, there's still a really strong healing energy here, but I almost feel like there's a little bit of a heaviness again today. Oh, 2 knights. Knight of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles. So again, with the throat chakra that I talked about last night, I feel like at this time, like saying what's on our mind is going to help us move things along. Being able to get in touch with how things are going for us internally. And I'm almost getting the harsh truth or brutal honesty thing again, even though we don't have the Knight of Swords, we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. But the Cups is about, with the emotion, being able to offer that out, and the Knight of Pentacles is about careful and calculated movement forward. Excuse me. Top of the deck is the Ace of Pentacles. So I feel like it does have to do with kind of like this man or us or we or you have been all three. And the three of them being able to be vulnerable, being able to make progress, and being able to make that progress based off of the results of our quiet contemplation and our understanding of ourselves is about a new beginning. On the bottom of the deck is the Seven of Cups. Okay, so what I'm getting off of that is a need when it comes to the emotions, right? To not Knight of Cups, Four of Cups. That's all good and well, but Seven of Cups would be ruminating and thinking that it's more complicated than it is, not being able to sort through everything. What's a clarifier for the Seven of Cups then? The Hermit. The difference in the solitude quality of the Hermit and the Four of Cups. And I cut the deck. There are some things that are just crazy with the repetition of the cards coming out, because sometimes I shuffle them through, sometimes I draw them from the top, sometimes I just get the sense that I want to take from the top and the bottom. But this pairing these were the first 2 cards, I believe, some of the first few that came out last night when I was pulling cards. The difference between these two and the quality of the solitude is that this one has some type of guiding light or illumination, whereas this one does too. It's the conceived idea, again, with like taking emotions that seem complex, letting them kind of unfurl into I'm getting another Harry Potter analogy. When he catches the golden snitch in the movie, this is the cinematic rendition, it like unfurls itself in his palm. And the snitch is it's almost imperceptible to the eye because it's so fast and darting. And I don't think that that's the quality of the emotions. I think more so it's just like thick, based off of what's happening in our lives right now. Or even almost just like the inability to process the emotions, the energy as it's ramping up in these summer months with these different things that happen. It just becomes, it's feeling overwhelming and it's resulting in this sense of sluggishness. But so this cup is like the snitch in that, but his eyes are closed to it. And if he would, to reach out, and again, it's golden and it's got wings. So I like that because that's like the snitch. He's not interested in letting it kind of unfurl or taking it out of the air. So kind of a conscious choice to be able to stand up and move forward. And there is, yes, like I do feel a sluggishness, not just because it's morning and I woke up. I do feel it in the energy. I do see it in the cards, especially Knight of Pentacles, Four of Cups. It's like yawning while you're starting to do something, but you're still starting to do it. So the Hermit being like, Perhaps still some solitude, but a contemplation of how the way forward will be lit. The Hanged Man. That's going to require a different perspective. And again, with the Six of Pentacles, a different perspective that might involve a new start materially. So it will take material steps of change. One more card to wrap it up. Pentacles, Six of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles, those two things are aligned in that it's about the physical stuff of our life that we can change and give. Yeah, for stability, the Four of Wands, the Kingdom. So the message is, don't be caught up or overwhelmed in the illusion, because if he sits here for too long, then he'll kind of dissociate and a part of his mind will become this way. And at a certain point, he has to get up, and even if he's yawning, start to take some steps forward. And again, with the water park ride, there is some, you can't really stop moving forward in life, but this has to do with processing, letting the body process energy, letting the heart process emotion, letting the mind process thought. It's all designed to do what it's meant to do, and all that we do is allow it or prevent it. All right, have a great day.